Hi, everybody. I'm talking to Luca Masiello, the brand partnerships lead of the DSP side at Microsoft in London today. We're going to be talking about Microsoft and its services and the various ad platforms and technologies that Microsoft offers. Anyway, Luca, please tell me a bit more about yourself and your role and what you do at Microsoft.
Great. Thanks, Julian. So thanks for having me for a start, and thanks to AdCall for this podcast. So I'm Luca. I look after new DSP partnerships on the newly formed media and AdTech solutions pod at Microsoft. So predominantly speaking to brands who are interested in testing out a new DSP, but also increasingly looking after more and more of the stack across our programmatic and non-programmatic products.
Great. And how long have you been with Microsoft?
So I've been with Microsoft about just over 5 years now. I actually joined in our first acquisition when it was back when it was AppNexus, if anyone has been around in the industry for that long. But then AppNexus, and then Xandr, and now Microsoft.
So can you tell our listeners what is a demand-side platform and how can it address the specific needs of modern advertisers?
Yeah, so a demand-side platform is typically known as a DSP, and it's essentially it's the platform that a marketer or an agency would use to buy programmatic advertising. Now, the reason that I guess how it addresses the specific needs of modern advertisers is basically that there's no more advanced platform that you can use for digital media buying, and this is everything from targeting to the data that you can bring to the platform to measurement and attribution, customization. So the DSP really is I guess the holy grail of programmatic and digital buying. And just a point on that, I guess that most DSPs in market are, I guess, point solutions. So standalone products not connected to the rest of the ad tech ecosystem. I guess where Microsoft differentiates a little bit is that our ad tech suite, it actually spans the buy and sell side of the ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, so thinking about our tech stack, you have the Microsoft DSP, which is the buying platform. You have the SSP, which is the supply side platform. And then in the middle, we have a curation platform. And I guess the benefit to brands and marketers is that having that end-to-end view of the entire ecosystem gives us benefits in terms of transparency and more efficient buying, the ability to curate inventory and that sort of thing. So that's where sort of we sit in the DSP landscape.
So going into the past a little bit, Microsoft purchased Xandr and named it Microsoft Invest. And it offers advertisers exclusive access to Microsoft's in-market and demographic audience segments. The numbers right now, they look really impressive, reaching more than over 1 billion users programmatically. How does Microsoft Invest fit into the broader landscape of digital advertising platforms?
It's a great question. And actually, understanding where platforms fit now, I understand can actually be quite difficult because there's more platforms, there's more operating systems, there's more sort of data silos. I think where we really stand out is we have I guess a good way of thinking about it is like a spine of data that really powers everything we do. So you mentioned the far-reaching audience of more than 1 billion users. That's exactly right. So actually, the billion users we see across our search engine, across our gaming portfolio, across our content and operating system. Windows alone has 73% market share, for example. So where we fit really is that we're trying to solve the two hardest things it is to do in digital. And the first one is accessing high quality data for targeting. But the second one is actually closing the loop on digital measurement and attribution. So where we see ourselves fitting is we can actually do both those things. So, and if you think about the Microsoft audience as well, it's largely untapped as well. So studies have found that this is an audience that is 15% more likely to purchase online. It should be an incremental audience to a lot of platforms. And drilling down into actually the targeting, the offerings that that are out there. The first one is our in-market audience. And this is essentially where we've collated signals from a bunch of our properties and segmented them into essentially affinity or in-market audiences across 900 or so categories. The interesting thing here as well is that we're able to offer demographic targeting as well. Like one of the hardest things to do in programmatic, especially, is drill down on demo, and we can do that. And again, on the measurement piece, if you think about all the disparate signals in programmatic, but where we really see ourselves differentiated is that with having this, I guess, audience spine running in the background, we can quite easily build a really unified picture of the Microsoft user across all our properties, across the open internet, by tying together those signals. So that's how we see ourselves, I guess, differentiated and where we fit in the broader landscape.
Okay. And is there, just to, create a broader image of that, is there a service or something that you can give, given that you have this, trove of information and users to use? Is there something you can provide that maybe others can't? What can Microsoft provide advertisers that they might not find elsewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think from the where we really stand out is, as I said, I guess this huge, powerful audience spine and all these signals that we pull from all these like many properties, and that's not just sort of the outlooks and the Bings and stuff. This is we get signals anywhere there's a Microsoft logged in user, and as a result of that, we can power bespoke and unique products. One of them that comes to mind is a search lift product, for example. So we can, because we have Bing search, and then we also have a huge scaled programmatic business. We can tell you that if once we serve an impression in the programmatic ecosystem, if we see that same user in search or across Bing, we attribute that, and we can basically calculate the lift. So that's one way that we can differentiate.
Got it. And can you tell me about the kind of clients that use Microsoft Invest and what value you provide them with?
Yeah, absolutely. So Microsoft Invest DSP has been around in the industry for 10, 15 years. We're sort of at the start of programmatic, we were there, and we're still here, and we're still a really big force. And as a result, I think we actually work with a variety of profiles. So we work with independent agencies like yourselves. We work with holding companies. We work with builder agencies. We work with brands directly. And the reason, I guess, that we're able to work with so many is that at our core as a business, we are flexible. We are, I guess, the most customizable platform in market. So, for example, if you're an agency and you're just trying to prove the value of programmatic, we can do that. If you're a more technical client, and for example, like a builder company, we have open APIs, and you can build on top of us, and you can then go and create your own, I guess, differentiators. We can help you with that. Or ultimately, if you're a brand, and this is what I work a lot across, if you're a brand, a globally scaled brand, and you're looking to make your supply chain more efficient and make tweaks and have a complete view of an impression from buy to sell, we can do that as well. So I mean, the good answer for us is that we really do work with everyone, and actually our client book really speaks to that.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I have to follow up on that. You just talked about how you can help companies make their supply chain more efficient. Can you explain that process a bit more in depth?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing that you need when trying to understand the supply chain, if your business is there, is essentially working with a transparent platform. Without transparency, it's really hard to make your supply chain more efficient or even understand what's going on in that supply chain. The second step is just looking out for certain things. I think historically, and again, this has been widely documented, programmatic has sometimes had issues with murkiness in the supply chain, bad players taking out fees for no reason, just sort of things that shouldn't be happening, actually, that ultimately mean that less of your budget as a brand is going to go to the publisher. So the first thing I guess that you can do is completely expose that supply chain and take out murky or take out inefficient actors or players. The second thing as well is by using an end-to-end platform, you generally see that you just see less drop-offs. I think, as is the case in a lot of programmatic and a lot of tech, generally tech that speaks the same language works better together. It's quite a basic point, but it's true. And then thirdly, you can start to really hone in on the inventory that you're buying through working with an end-to-end platform. And actually, by doing that and by understanding exactly what you're buying, where and how, you can devise a strategy that makes the whole thing work better and more seamlessly.
Mm-hmm. And just to be able to visualize that a bit more, can you give me a more like concrete example, without mentioning any names, of course, of a type of company and a type of process that you went through to make their supply chain more efficient?
Yeah, absolutely. So with one tier one global brand, we'll call them, they came to us, and the specific challenge that they were trying to solve was they had a hunt that their supply chain wasn't as efficient as possible. They had a specific interest in how do we make the inventory that we're buying more efficient. And by more efficient, they meant more cost efficient. What we did is we took a look at the entire spread of SSPs that they were buying across. We condensed the list for a start and made sure that we cut out inefficient players, and where they were buying across our SSP, where we could get even more insight into the specific deals, we made sure that every single one at scale would work better. And we actually also brought in Curate. Now, we haven't touched on Microsoft Curate too much, but Microsoft Curate is essentially a layer of technology that sits on top of an SSP. And it's a curation tool, either for brands that want to create their own inventory marketplaces, which was the case with this brand, or even data vendors and providers that want to marry up their own first-party data with inventory and then package it and sell it to DSPs, not just ours. Now, this specific brand actually started using Curate to make that supply chain more efficient. Curate offers a level of control and transparency and granularity that it's hard to get when buying across multiple SSPs, and we actually condensed that and made all that go through essentially one system. And by doing all these things, we made the entire supply chain a lot more efficient, and it's a brand that we still work with today.
Many people believe that we're heading towards a cookieless future. How do you think brands should adapt to that?
Yeah. So this is the $1 million question. And I think that generally the industry has reacted really well to the idea that we have probably been doing things in the right way for a really long time now. Cookies are kind of going away, but it's not in our control, right? But I think what advertisers should be doing is preparing for persistent identifiers, whatever they are, to slowly go. And I think there's been a concerted effort in the industry to stop relying on persistent identifiers, which has been a good thing. And I think they should continue. But I think the challenges that have emerged from that are that you think about all the different sort of cookieless strategies that you can employ. A lot of them fall down in some places. So, for example, publisher IDs are arguably the gold standard, the holy grail of first-party data. They're cookieless, they're opt-in, consented. Publishers know their audience like no one else. Where they fall down is they're not as scalable, potentially, as some other strategies. And then on the complete flip side of that, a huge part of our sort of targeting business on the invest side is what we call next generation and contextual vendors. Again, contextual is by nature cookieless, amazing at scaling in cookieless environments, especially when you start to use some of the more advanced players. But where it falls down sometimes is the precision and sometimes the performance. I think brands need to think about how they achieve both scale and performance in cookieless. Because that's basically where we're all trying to get to. And one thing that one area in which I think Microsoft's ad solutions really stand out is that because we have the ability to tie together so many signals across programmatic, things like IDs and sort sort of contextual strategies. What you should be able to do by using Microsoft for your cookieless identity strategy is actually achieve both scale and precision in cookieless. And actually, that's super powerful. Of course, this is all kind of a learning curve, and you need to understand exactly what strategy works for you. But by using a platform like this, you give yourself the best chance of achieving that.
You talked about cookieless strategies for that marketers can leverage. Can you give me another example of a cookieless strategy that a marketer can leverage now today to help them, prepare for this future and, leverage that data better?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the really powerful I guess cookieless targeting strategies that we surface to our buyers is what we call Microsoft Customer Match. Now, for first party data rich businesses, businesses with a lot of emails, and that's a lot of our customers, their CRM strategy is super important, right? And often that isn't actually taken care of by programmatic or digital teams. Because we have such a huge spine of audience data that we can rely on for matching and extension across the internet, across both our owned and operated and just the open internet, we can employ strategies like this to really advance first-party data cookieless strategies. So what Customer Match does is Microsoft Invest receives emails, hashed emails, and by us activating it through the DSP, we can actually extend them onto the open internet. So anywhere that we see that user, of course, opt in and consented in a privacy first way, we're able to activate on that programmatically.
So Microsoft has always been at the forefront of digital transformation. What impact do you see new technologies having on marketing strategies in the upcoming years?
Yeah, great question. And I think this is all over the industry content at the moment. I think the first one is obviously the impact of AI. Now this has been widely documented, but I think specifically in marketing and on marketing strategies and teams, I think we've already started to see huge efficiencies in planning. AI is helping plan and forecast in various platforms, including ours. The second thing is insights as well, insight generation. At Microsoft, we use AI to bolster the way we gather insights on our user base. And then thirdly, we've started to see AI help with image content generation. So this is especially in our ad tech stack and our ad stack, sorry. AI is actually helping either create creative from scratch, or it's helping bolster existing creative and iterate on versions that advertisers are already using, which is really cool and saves a lot of time and money and is super efficient. I think into the future, we're going to start to see more efficiencies when it comes to AI and helping humans buy, more in like an assistant type of role. And this isn't just Microsoft. I think this will be true of the wider industry, but the wins that we can actually take from AI in a buying sense, I think will definitely be pretty far reaching. The second point outside of AI, I think, is sustainability. Now, this has been something that's the awareness of which has grown massively over the last few years as well. And I think there's been an increase in just trying to understand how much carbon, the carbon impact of the whole of digital. And although we've started to see some measurement taking place and various sort of green tech companies pop up and showing us the impact of this, I think we're gonna start to really see brands start to point buying strategies to generally more green media or make wholesale changes based on results of sort of carbon measurement reporting. So I think the two new technologies that we'll really see have an impact on marketing strategies going forward.
Amazing. And have you already noticed brands or certain patterns in terms of sustainability? And do you think there's examples today to look at as something that might be replicated in the future?
Yeah, I think one thing that has been quite nice to see as someone who deals with a lot of new business and responds to a lot of briefs is that we've started seeing sustainability focused questions pop up more and more in RFIs. Things around like what are the capabilities, what are your integrations with sustainability vendors, and on the sell side, of the industry as well. We've started to integrate and see more platforms, not just us, integrate with more and more green vendors who focus on sort of green and more ethical and sustainable inventory. So they're the two things that come to mind. But generally, I think the trend for someone who really cares about sustainability, the trend is really positive.
Sure. Yeah, amazing. I mean, that sounds promising. So, we're talking about audiences a lot. And of course, one aspect is gathering all that data, having all those data points. And I think the next one is, understanding our audiences, trying to, use that data, leverage it better. What can marketers do to better understand their target audiences?
Yeah, great question. I think this is one that we've been trying to solve for a long time. I think this boils down to both insights and testing. So I mentioned before, being able to lean on tech platforms with data to glean as many insights from their audience as possible, because we can speak for Microsoft, but no one knows our audience as well as we do, right? We've been collating this audience for about 20 years. I think the second thing is testing, and then proving out that testing with actual outcomes. So the testing piece really comes in either being able to report on specific metrics, or being able to, again, lean on platforms to say, actually, this impression that you serve, this matches up to this demographic and this in-market audience. So by doing that, and actually that's something that Microsoft provide, you can start to understand an audience better, and actually just more widely just being able to tell a story and continue building like a unified view of a user. We mentioned further up the sort of search lift stuff, but being able to also prove impact across screens, I think is important. So with Microsoft Search Lift, again, after seeing an ad in programmatic, you can then attribute it to search on Bing, and this unified view of the user and actually being able to follow a user journey around and make sense of it will ultimately help marketers understand audiences.
Okay, great. And I don't think we've discussed this before yet fully. What advantages does CTV, connected TV, have over other forms of video advertising?
Yeah, really good question. So CTV in general has really exploded over the last probably 5 or 6 years now. And it's a huge form of any sort of tier one brand strategy, or actually any brand strategy. I think the reason for this there are a number of reasons for this. I think the way in which consumers are ingesting media or consuming are changing. I think the average household in the US now has 22 connected devices, which was crazy to me, but it's true. But I think the reason that CTV is so important and so effective is that compared to linear TV, you can really bring data measurement, targeting, attribution to the table in a way that you can't traditionally. Combine that with a whole generation of sort of young people that are cord cutting, and you have a situation where, for example, take Netflix, you have the most premium CTV property that you can buy across through Invest, but you can then start to layer on first-party data, either your own or Microsoft's first-party data, and you can really start to build a sort of scaled premium strategy for your buyers. So I think that in itself is why CTV is so powerful. And then when you start to bring as well, thinking specifically across the Microsoft ad stack, when you start to bring in the advantages of working with a partner who can curate inventory, so package up different bits of premium CTV inventory and push it to the DSP to buy, you can really start to scale in a way that it's difficult to do traditionally. So CTV can actually hit, obviously traditionally hits branding goals, but it's being able to also start to prove out the ROAS of CTV using strategies like brand lift or using proper verification strategies. You can see why it's such an emerging format. Actually, it's emerged. It's not an emerging format anymore. It's
right.
Yeah.
You've talked about the premium level of CTV advertising. What makes this advertising, these campaigns, what makes them premium compared to non-premium ones? And in general, CTV, what makes CTV so much better for advertisers than, let's say, an ad in a music video or in a cooking show we watch on the internet? Why is CTV better than what we're getting on the rest of the internet?
So I don't think it's a question of one being better than the other. I think it's totally to do with what your brand goals are and what you're trying to achieve. I think in every media strategy, there's definitely a place for online video advertising, whether that's in stream or outstream. That can be more performance focused. But I think the reason that we think about CTV as being premium is that generally the platforms that a lot of our brands buy across, the content is premium, and as a result, the platform is premium. And this is everything from the actual shows that people are watching, but also from a brand safety perspective. Arguably, Netflix is one of the most brand safe environments that you can advertise in. So we think about this as premium as well, because the actual format and the way in which you are consuming that media tends to be, although you can do it on phones and iPads, tends to be on a big TV, and everyone's got HD TV now. So for me, that's why it's premium. But no, that's not to say that other video strategies also aren't important.
Great. So we've talked a little bit about devices, and you said, what was it? The average was 22 devices per household?
Yeah, I'm now worried that's not right, but I'm pretty sure it's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay. Yeah. I just, well, it seems like it's probably a higher number than I would have thought beforehand. Now that, the Internet of Things is becoming a bigger part of everyday life, devices are more connected, people are more connected. What impact will this have on marketing?
Yeah,
and is it having right now? Yeah.
Yeah. I think a huge impact is the short answer. So like I said, I think that stat about 22 connected devices really illustrates the way in which consumption habits are changing. And I think that on the whole, good or bad, people are engaging with devices on the internet more and more. And if you think about a platform like Microsoft, which has the search engine Bing, we have the business network, LinkedIn, gaming, Xbox, casual games. We haven't even touched on Activision Blizzard King, which is a recent activation, which is really exciting. MSN, Edge, Windows, which has 73% market share. When you think about the way that engagement on all these platforms is on the whole increasing, and more signals is more data, and more data is more precision, which is then in turn more measurement, you can start to see that this Internet of Things generally being on the up and people using the internet and devices more and more is probably, in my opinion, good for marketing, because on the whole, the more information that we get, the better it is, and the better job that we can do for brands.
Okay, cool. So you've talked about gaming beforehand, and I resisted the urge to talk about that as someone who likes video games, but now I have to go into that more. What kind of data are we able to get from people that are gaming, and how can marketers leverage that? What are we getting from gamers? What extra marketing abilities are there?
Yeah, I think without being too specific about the platform, I think the answer will be fairly similar to the ones I've given about just the general advantages of Microsoft data. And actually, the platforms like Xbox and Microsoft Casual Games are actually platforms that we draw from to bolster and to sort of feed our audience spine. So what we can do is we can target specific gaming segments and gamers that we know are acting in X sort of way. At the moment, the data that you can get out of these platforms, especially with the new acquisition, are TBC, to be honest. But that is a huge area of interest, and you're not the first person to ask us that. And it's something that we'll be working on to refine over the coming months and years.
Mm-hmm. So do you see that as kind of an area that has more untapped potential for the future of marketing?
Potentially. I think as well. I think that we've definitely done some work trying to dispel the rumor that there's like a there's like a gamer profile. Actually, it turns out, like you just said, like you're a gamer. I play one game. I play FIFA. But actually, more people are gamers than we think, and as a result of that, this is just another surface that people are using, another platform that through increased usage, we receive more data. So I think, of course, and actually, as I said, it's something that the whole industry is now looking to. What I probably should have added gaming to as like a technology for the future in a previous answer, but for sure, I can see that being a huge focus for especially tier one global brands.
Got it. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about Microsoft Copilot, and then what impact can smart assistants like Microsoft Copilot have on advertising efforts?
Yeah, for sure. I can speak to Microsoft Copilot in more of like an advertising sense. I think what I won't touch on is the way that Copilot is kind of transforming life and work. And I mean, just as a note there, the whole Microsoft advertising org now actually rolls up into the Microsoft AI org. So take from that what you will, but I think we have huge plans in AI, and I think we're just getting started here. Today, what we can do with AI, especially in advertising, is we've used AI to bolster a recommendation engine, a planning and insight tool, and image generation. So the ability to either create an asset from scratch using AI, or bolstering an asset that you already have and iterating on that asset for use elsewhere, which saves money and time, and it's super efficient. And actually, the result of which creatively can sometimes be super interesting. So that's kind of today. I think moving forward, AI is going to really help the way that we buy operationally. Now, we don't know what this looks like yet, but I think not just us, I think a number of platforms, we're going to see this from a number of platforms across the industry where AI is intrinsically involved as an assistant to humans in the actual digital buying process.
So you've talked already about Netflix and some other companies. Microsoft has partnered with many big players, from Netflix to LinkedIn and so on. Is the benefit of this just getting more data points, enlarging that data umbrella, so to speak? Or what other benefits is Microsoft getting from these partnerships?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the data is undoubtedly a huge benefit. I think you tend to see that when you use data within a system, that data is often a lot more transferable and fluid between platforms in that system, and that's certainly true of Microsoft Advertising and its platforms. But what we're trying to do, I think, with our sort of larger marketing, digital marketing aim is actually just create a sort of a home of digital, like a one-stop shop for digital buying. I think we've seen that. I didn't spend too long in agency, but from what I saw there, and that was a while ago, there were so many platforms, there was so much data, there's so many data silos, so much reporting. That I think there's actually a lot of power and efficiency in having a one-stop shop, a really powerful one-stop shop that is bolstered by unique data that has surfaces and inventories and owned properties and spanning categories and verticals like business, gaming, the list goes on. But I think there's a lot of power in actually just even operationally having to go to one place for your digital buying. So that was a roundabout way of saying, yes, the data is important, but I think there's other, I guess, even maybe less tangible things that actually make the kind of one big offering quite appetizing.
Okay, great. So first, thank you for bringing me with me all this time. We're at the last question now, so
Cool.
That's it. Luca, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give marketers wanting to hit the ground running in 2025?
Yeah. We get asked this every year, and I think every year I say a variation of a similar thing. But this year, I think even more specifically, I think the focuses would really be on the industry's changing massively. I would, if I was a brand, be sort of understanding what the holy grail of my marketing is and working backwards and reverse engineering from that into a choice of platforms. Now, I think the most important things for me is basically your choice of partners. You can't pick 4, 5, 6 partners. That becomes unattainable and hard operationally. I think picking a partner with really strong and differentiated data capabilities is really important, both from a targeting and measurement attribution perspective. A platform that's also focused on outcomes and outcomes driven business and strategies that really help you differentiate, because it is becoming more and more difficult to stand out. In digital marketing, everything is more saturated, more brands are buying. And then lastly, I think a focus on brand buying efficiency as well, especially when we're talking about programmatic. There's still some of the old issues around inefficiencies and non-transparencies. Actually buying from a platform that can really help you sort of look at the entire supply chain, buy more efficiently. The only money in a supply chain is the brands. So you want as much of that to end up on your working media as possible. And as it happens, I think Microsoft Invest is quite a good partner for all those things. So yeah, they'd be my focus areas going to the new year.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for all your answers and these great explanations, Luca. I really appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Julian. Appreciate it.